Thanks for tuning in to Steel City Football, the 4-1-2. It's a great day to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. Let's jump right in. So, Joe Flacco comes out today and he says he wants to be the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback in 2026. Am I surprised? I'm not really surprised. But you think that some of these quarterbacks, some of these great rivalries that we had in the NFL, you think certain teams would be off limits? You think that Joe Flacco would say to himself, I never want to wear a Pittsburgh Steelers uniform? You know, I know it's an entirely different situation when you're a 44-year-old quarterback or a 42, 43-year-old quarterback, but it still surprises me. You know, there should be some type of, if I'm a Pittsburgh Steeler for life, I really, this reminds me of Rod Woodson. I hated seeing Rod Woodson in a Baltimore Ravens uniform. I couldn't stand it. Especially when I knew that there was no reason that Rod Woodson couldn't have played his entire career with the Pittsburgh Steelers. But we all saw how it worked out. It's just absolutely sickening. Let's see what Joe Flacco had to say. Anybody in the chat? How you guys doing? Joe Flacco, he wants to wear the Steelers uniform, wants to wear the black and gold. Joe Flacco says, pretty cool idea. Joe Flacco doubles down on potentially joining the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's a pretty cool idea, Flacco said Wednesday on the Pro Football Talk podcast. I never would have thought about it, but obviously going to the third team in the division this year, I probably would have had mixed feelings on it even 2 years ago. Do I really want to go to this team or that team? But I'm so open to these opportunities, and I think that has a chance of being a great one. Many fans will remember Flacco as the Baltimore Ravens quarterback. He was a leader for the Steelers' greatest rival from 2008 to 2018, helping them win a Super Bowl. However, he's made his way around the rest of the AFC North since then. Flacco had two different stints with the Cleveland Browns, once in 2023 and then again in 2025. His first year with the Browns helped him revive his career. Flacco started 5 games that year, going 4-1 and throwing for 1,616 yards, 13 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. He also helped Cleveland make the playoffs, winning comeback player of the year for his efforts. I don't know. This is just a tough pill to swallow, if you ask me. Again, he's stayed in the AFC North division. He's playing for the Bengals. He's playing for the Browns. Now he wants to play for the Steelers. And let's remember Joe Flacco's huge contract that he got with the Ravens for $120 million. I don't know. This is just crossing boundaries and crossing lines. This would be the equivalent to seeing Troy Polamalu in a Baltimore Ravens uniform. It would just be absolutely sickening. Same thing with Rod Woodson. I hated seeing Rod Woodson in a Baltimore Ravens uniform. Oh, God, it was nauseating. Jay Glazer, he keeps trying to make the story of Tomlin retiring like it's such a... He just keeps going with the story. Look, it wasn't working, and Tomlin called it quits. And can we just leave it at that? Tomlin resigned. He wasn't fired. And just Jay Glazer, he just keeps adding to the story, like trying to make it a bigger story than what it is. This is my plan. Jay Glazer kept Mike Tomlin's decision secret for years. Oh, God, Jay, just give it a rest already, will you? Like, are you hurting for attention or something? This is my plan. Jay Glazer kept Mike Tomlin's decision secret for years. Jay Glazer briefly joined Nightcap on Super Bowl Radio Row, and he shared new information about Tomlin's departure. I think he's done, Glazer said Wednesday when asked if Tomlin will ever return to coaching. He told me and Rondé Barber 2 years ago, he was like, hey, this is my plan. You can't say this. Don't show my hands. I'm telling you, you're my guy. Glazer is a mentor to Tomlin's son and wasn't going to sell out Tomlin despite it being one of the biggest head coaching news scoops for the last few years. You're Dino Tomlin's mentor, Glazer. Well, I can tell you right now, you're not doing a good job, and I'll just leave it at that. Last year, I thought he was going to hang it up. He decided one more. I thought he was going to be done. So until it happens, it happens. But this year, kind of in week 8, I'm like, hey, man, anybody that's going to change your mind? Nope. Okay, I said, I can't report it. The last week, Tomlin said, nope. But in fairness, he said, I don't think it's fair if my players find out from you. Who cares? Okay, whatever, Jay. Why do you got to keep like rehashing this? I mean, I know people want to know if Tomlin's ever going to coach again. Do you think Tomlin's ever going to step into a team with Big Ben as the quarterback, a Troy Polamalu, James Harrison led stud defense, an offensive line like he had when he won the Super Bowl? I would love to see Mike Tomlin go to a team like the Raiders, who have absolutely nothing going for them at this point, and he has to build the team from scratch. I'd love to see Tomlin go to the Raiders. I'd love to see Tomlin go to the Jets. I'd love to see Tomlin go to the Browns. What's up, little DJ Play YT? How you doing, brother? How are you? Thanks for chatting. I'd love to see Tomlin go to a team where he had to draft a quarterback, develop a quarterback, where he had to build the team from scratch. You know what I want the comparison to be? Like Jimmy Johnson, to me, the Dallas Cowboys coach, was he was a fantastic coach. It was Jimmy's way or the highway. He was a great coach. That's what I want to see Tomlin start with a team like the Cowboys. When Jimmy took over the Cowboys, they were absolutely atrocious. Troy Aikman's first year, they went 1-15. The next year, they go 8-8. The following year, they go 10-6. Then they win the Super Bowl. That is building an organization. That is building a team. Do I think Tomlin could do that? No, I don't. I don't at all. I always say this. I think Mike Tomlin's first car was a Lamborghini. When the majority of coaches and the rest of us, our first car is like a Toyota or a Honda or a Hyundai. You see what I'm trying to say? This whole thing that Coach Tomlin is the greatest coach that ever lived. It's just like, come on already, man. Please, let's get serious. And I got to say this every time I talk about this. Every single player of Tomlin's Super Bowl roster winning team, every single player but one was drafted by Bill Cowher. And I'm not gonna bring it up again, I promise. Because I can't. I'm sick of saying it over and over again. Glazer, you need to let it go, dude. Get therapy. Seriously. It's annoying already. Steelers announce hiring of 5 additional coaches. Here we go. We have named Brian Angelico offensive coordinator, Danny Grossman special teams coordinator, John Witt Jr. assistant head coach, secondary D'Amato Pico defensive line coach, and Pat Riley defensive quality control. Wow, we got a ton of coaches. You know, there's so many coaches. Tomorrow when I have more time, I'm going to look up and see what these coaches have done. Why Joe Little DJ Plays YT said, why Joe Flacco trying to come to a team he's washed? I don't know. I mean, he was saying it today. Supposedly Aaron Rodgers wants to sign with the Minnesota Vikings, or there's some speculation that he's going to sign with the Vikings. And the Steelers, obviously, we don't have a quarterback. So Flacco was putting it out there that he doesn't mind to wear the black and gold. I mean, there's been some rumblings from a lot of insiders. They're saying they don't believe that Will Howard will even beat out Mason Rudolph week 1. So if that's the case, and you got to go with an older quarterback or what's ever left on the free agent market, and Aaron Rodgers doesn't want to play for you and he wants to play for the Vikings, and if Joe Flacco wants to play for you and he's better than Will Howard, are you going to sign him? I would sign him. I mean, I don't want the whole year to go to a complete waste. I've said this over and over. If you get a quarterback, if Will Howard can't beat one of these older guys out, then Will Howard shouldn't be the quarterback. It's that simple. Give me a second. I got the sniffles. Let me take a little sip of this. But am I happy with the quarterback situation? No, but that's where we are because the process the process of bringing in a new coach to develop a quarterback should have started honestly when the Steelers lost to the Jaguars in the playoffs against Tim Tebow. DJ Johnson, Shopping Sherlock said Flacco solid still. I mean, he has played well. So I mean, I agree with you. I don't think he's completely washed, and he has had some streaks where he played well. But can he play 17 games in that Pittsburgh cold ass weather? Is more, that's the big question. I think he can. He's a bigger guy. He's got huge hands. So when it gets cold and he's got to grip the ball, he's got gigantic hands, and that stuff like that does matter. And he's a big guy. He's a lot bigger than Aaron Rodgers. So do I think he could play? Yeah. Do I want to see him wear the black and gold? Absolutely not. But hey, if he's gonna save our season, then leave him be. This is like a new I don't want to say new coaching position with the Steelers, but now they're having a assistant head coach. The Steelers are hiring Joe Witt Jr. as assistant head coach. DJ Johnson, Shopping Sherlock said, "We just in a bad quarterback spot, don't have a choice." I agree with you. I mean, I agree with you 1,000%. I'd rather have him start again. If Will Howard can't beat him out, they keep predicting that Will Howard can't even beat out Mason Rudolph. That's not a good sign. If Will Howard can't beat out Mason Rudolph, man, we got problems. Everybody just keeps saying Will Howard, Will Howard, Will Howard. Well, if he's not better than Mason, then he shouldn't be out there. The Steelers are hiring former Commanders DC Joe Witt Jr. as assistant head coach, secondary coach, sources say. Witt 47 spent 11 seasons on Mike McCarthy's staff with the Packers. Now they've reunited in Pittsburgh. A lot of these guys are, they all have a lot of familiarity with Mike McCarthy, and I think that's a good thing. I don't think it's a bad thing. A lot of people are saying it's a bad thing. Oh, all these coaches, they've already worked with McCarthy. Yeah, and hopefully that's when McCarthy won the Super Bowl. So they're all coming on board. We have like a million coaches now. They've all worked with McCarthy, and they all know what to expect, and I like that. DJ Johnson, Shopping Sherlock said, "Wow." What do you mean, wow? What's the matter? Tell me. What are you trying to say? Wow about what? I'm intrigued. Let me know. Steelers hiring Montana State Sean Howe to coaching staff. I mean, there's so many of these guys. Beat writer explains why Steelers passed on hiring Scott Tolzien. They were interested in him enough, at least bring him in and talk to him, Capoli told the fans Joe Starkey and Bob Pompiani. But I think the bottom line was there with him was I don't think the experience matched what they were looking for at the time. That is true. If you look at all these coaches, they have a lot of experience, like all 100 of them, and they've all worked with McCarthy. And again, I don't think that's a bad thing. So Tolzien is entering his 8th year coaching and 7th in the NFL level after spending 2019 at Wisconsin, his alma mater. Mike McCarthy hired him for his first NFL job in 2020, first as an assistant and then promoted to quarterbacks coach in 2023. He assumed the same role in 2025 with the New Orleans Saints. At 38 years old and without decades in the NFL, Tolzien's experience pales compared to Angelico. He's 15 years older, been a coach since 1995, and has worked in the NFL since 2012. What they were looking for really was they're going to end up getting in Angelico. It was a guy that was right-hand man of Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota for 4 years, Capoli said. I like all this. I really do. It makes me really confident going into 2026. Like the Steelers have a good grasp on the coaching staff. It's known that Mike Tomlin's had the smallest coaching staff in the entire league for the last 19 years. Everybody would say, oh, Tomlin hasn't evolved. Tomlin hasn't evolved. Well, it's going to be very hard to say that the Steelers aren't hiring coaches that haven't evolved. So we got all these new coaches coming in, and they should be evolved in today's game. What do you DJ Johnson Shopping Sherlock said, what do you think about trading bulk of our picks for Mendoza, similar to Herschel Walker trade? That's a good question. I mean, yeah, I know he's coming off a national championship. I don't know. That's a really good question. I don't know. I mean, I would have to trust McCarthy. You know, if McCarthy said that's what we're going to do, he's seen enough quarterbacks to know, like, you know, there's a lot of speculation about Mendoza. Is he really that good? Is he not that good? I didn't watch enough of him to know if he's the real deal. Obviously, he just won a national championship at the highest level, right? So he's got to be good. Do I want to spend all my picks on a quarterback? If Mike McCarthy said, "Yeah, this is our guy. This is who we're going to trade," you know, all our picks for, I believe in him, I would take McCarthy at his word and support it then. That would be my answer. And I'm only saying that not because I'm just glazing McCarthy, like, oh, McCarthy's a god and he's the coach, so I'm just going to agree with anything he said. No. If you look at McCarthy's track record of developing quarterbacks and drafting quarterbacks and working with quarterbacks, if McCarthy came out and said, this is the guy that's going to lead our franchise, then I'm going to take him at his word because obviously he knows more than me about it. So we'll see what McCarthy does. If that's, you know, if that's the plan, that's a good question, though. That's my take, you know. New Steelers defensive line coach D'Amato Pico reacts to getting the job. I like him a lot. Oh, he does have long hair. I think it's just blowing in the wind somewhere. In an interview with the pregame network, Pico shared his thoughts about joining Pittsburgh. You're always blessed when you get an opportunity to elevate Pico to the show, and especially with an organization like the Pittsburgh Steelers. Don't get much better than that. Got to go to the next level and help out Coach Mike McCarthy, which is a blessing for me. Spent some time with him in Dallas, and I'm happy to get back to work with him with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pico has been a coach for just 2 seasons. He spent time interning for the Mike McCarthy Dallas Cowboys in 2024 before landing his first positional job with Deion Sanders in Colorado in 2025. Throughout the conversation, Pico acknowledged the difficult decision to leave Boulder, but a chance to run a room in the NFL was too good to pass up. Like most of Mike McCarthy's hires, Pico's past experience working with him will make for an easier transition. I actually started off, it's called the Bill Walsh's Coaches Fellowship. I was in there as an assistant coach, just doing the little things in the D-line room, drawing up cards, different runs, top runs of the week, doing some computer things as well, and PowerPoint, getting some meetings ready for our main D-line coach. Well, that's what I want. I want a guy that started from the bottom up. Pico, you remember AFC North, Cincinnati Bengals, long hair, absolutely destroyed Troy Polamalu on the goal line. They put him at fullback. Troy got murdered on that play. That's a picture in my mind forever. Rugged guy, rugged coach. That's what we need. We need to bring back that, you know, that AFC North toughness, excuse me. Charlie Batch, he comes out and he compares promising parallel to start of Mike McCarthy era. He compares it to when the Bucks passed the torch from Tony Dungy to John Gruden. Now, when you look at just what Mike McCarthy inherited, yeah, it's regardless if we like it or not, it's a playoff and a division winning team. And then now you needed a spark. Batch said of the move to McCarthy for the Steelers, according to video via the show's YouTube page. And this move kind of reminds me of what Tampa Bay did. And I say that because Tampa Bay moved on from Tony Dungy. They needed a spark offensively, brought in John Gruden in. They won a championship, won the Super Bowl. And I'm not saying that they will win the Super Bowl next year, excuse me, but it's a comparison that I can see happening. I think John Gruden should be brought in to work on the staff, honestly. DJ Johnson's Shopping Sherlock said, I went Pittsburgh back in the 90s, saw them play Cowboys Aikman, think we had Slash, what an experience. Oh, yeah, I could just imagine. It was in the 90s, definitely. Yeah. That's probably a great game to go see. seeing Greg Lloyd take on who was the offensive tackles? Larry Allen, right? Pretty sure Greg Lloyd played against Larry Allen. Kevin Green and Greg Lloyd played against Larry Allen. And who was the other tackle? Like Tuane? Who was the other offensive lineman on the Cowboys? Those were some real brutal matchups back then. You know, when the Steelers lost the Super Bowl, the Cowboys, I think they only scored 10 points going into half, and then Neil O'Donnell comes out and just starts throwing it to Dallas Cowboy defenders. I think the game was fixed. I really do. When you look at Neil O'Donnell's interceptions and the Super Bowl when the Steelers played the Cowboys, there wasn't another there wasn't a Steeler receiver in the area for like 10 yards. Like the Dallas Cowboys defensive backs were like shocked. Like they were getting Brown was getting balls thrown. Larry Brown was, getting balls thrown right to him. And what did the Raiders do? They paid him like $200 million after that game. Your sister could have caught those balls. What a joke. What a complete joke. What a depressing loss that was. It's like, Neil, what the F are you doing? Neil O'Donnell, I literally think Neil O'Donnell threw that game. Go back and watch those interceptions. You're like, dude, what the F are you doing? Like, what are you looking at? It's absolutely terrible. I mean, it's just like, when they talk about games that got fixed, I don't know how anybody doesn't talk about that. Yeah. DJ Johnson shopping Sherlock said, yeah, Neil O'Donnell threw 2 picks to Larry Brown for a touchdown. Yeah, threw it right to him. There's not a Steeler receiver anywhere even near the play. Chris Long thinks Aaron Rodgers should join Vikings, not the Steelers, if he plays in 2020. You know why I hate, not that I hate him, but I don't like guys like Chris Long, because the entire time that Chris Long was in the NFL, he acted like the game didn't mean anything to him, and they always come back to the league, whether it's podcasting or trying to be commentators. The entire time Chris Long was in the league, he took it as a joke, like it wasn't important to him, and now he's back commentating on football. There's quite a few players that act like him. Was never a fan. Chris Long is definitely not his dad Howie, that's for sure. DJ Johnson shopping Sherlock says, yeah, he didn't do what at the Raiders. Yeah, of course he didn't. Only the Raiders could sign Larry Brown for $100 million or $87 million after that Super Bowl. And you're thinking to yourself, like, Al Davis, are you on crack or something? Like, literally a 6-year-old could have caught those interceptions. What a joke that was. So Joey Porter Sr., he wants to be part of the Steelers coaching staff. He said, I'll take any role. His presence is needed with the Steelers. I feel like my presence is needed just to be back in the building. But, to the powers to be, they know I want to come back home, Porter said Wednesday on the Pat McAfee show. According to video via ESPN, I would love to coach. I never wanted to stop coaching, but I can take any role. I just feel like having older Steelers in the building to show how it's supposed to go, what it looks like. I ain't going to hurt nobody. That's funny. Porter was the Steelers' outside linebackers coach from 2015 to 2018 before being fired after his 4th season in that role. Well, a couple times he ran onto the field during fights with the Bengals. I'm sure that didn't help him out, but I mean, why not? Bring him in. Bring in Joey Porter. I like to have these guys around. Bring him in. Bring in Rod Woodson to help the defensive backs. Bring in Rod Woodson to help Joey Porter Jr. DJ Johnson shopping Sherlock said, I was thinking that Cowboys, they had Nate Newton, Mark Tuane, Larry Allen. I can't name them all, but they had some offensive line. But in that Super Bowl, the Steelers, that was the least amount of points going into the halftime that the Cowboys scored all season. The Steelers should have won that game. The Steelers should have won that Super Bowl. And then Neil O'Donnell just throwing phantom interceptions. I wouldn't mind seeing Joey Porter Sr. back on the coaching staff. I like him. I like his passion and enthusiasm for the Steelers. Just bring him in, give him a job, Have him around the building. No, I mean, I don't, I don't get it sometimes, but whatever. Mark Capoli says Steelers might not be finished hiring coaches yet. Bring them all in. Let's bring in 50 coaches. Let's hire everybody. Let's bring in Porter too. Let's see what's going on. Pittsburgh officially hired a new offensive coordinator, bringing in Brian Angelico over from the Minnesota Vikings. The Steelers also added 2 more assistants in Sean Howe and Joe Witt Jr. Steelers coaching staff looking solid, and they aren't done yet. Steelers writer Mark Capoli wrote on X, yeah, Steelers are my favorite team. I just remember the Super Bowl like it was yesterday. It was a painful loss, of course. I love the Steelers. Oh yeah, Gogan. He was a hell of a player too. And wait, who is the center? There was Tuane Stepnowski. Stepnowski was a big Polak. He was a really good player. I mean, that offensive line will really wear you down and beat you up. They had a great offensive line. In quick fashion, the Steelers now have a deep staff with a lot of experience on the offensive side of the ball. Some additions include Angelico, Raymond Chinyong as running backs coach, Adam Henry as receivers coach, James Catman and Jahari Evans as offensive line coaches, and Frank Signotti Jr. as senior offensive assistant. Also, Tom Arth was retained as quarterbacks coach. Hey, I love this. Everybody kept saying, hey, the Steelers aren't evolving with the times. They're not evolving like the rest of the league on offense or defense. Well, here it is. They're putting together a hell of a staff to evolve us into, the year 2026, because lately the Steelers look like we're stuck in 1990. DJ Johnson, Shopping Sherlock, says Stepnowski, that Cowboys line was nice, even though I can't stand. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I can't stand Jerry Jones. I can't stand Jerry World. I can't stand the Cowboys. It's like a circus. People keep dumping on McCarthy because, he didn't end on a good note with the Cowboys. It's very difficult to work for Jerry Jones. Like comparing Jerry Jones to the Rooney family, this is a perfect fit for Mike McCarthy being back with the Steelers and being with the Rooneys, where everything is more focused on football. Jerry Jones comes out himself and he even says, I say things all the time, even if they don't make sense, just to grab headlines. Like, yeah, because being the Dallas Cowboys owner is not good enough. You're not making enough money, right, Jerry? I watched 73 Super Bowl. What do you mean you watched 73 Super Bowl? Explain that to me. Let's see what else is going on. Florio wouldn't be shocked if Aaron Rodgers signs with the Vikings. Yeah, that's been the rumors and the reports that Aaron Rodgers wants to sign with the Vikings, or won't be surprised if he does. Though all signs are pointing to a reunion with the Pittsburgh Steelers for a second season, especially after the hiring of head coach Mike McCarthy and a number of familiar faces from Green Bay days, led by senior offensive assistant Frank Signotti Jr. and offensive line coach James Catman. The speculation is ramping up regarding Aaron Rodgers' future. That speculative future for the 42-year-old quarterback seems to center once again on the Minnesota Vikings. With the Vikings firing GM Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah earlier in this week, Minnesota is in a state of flux. They seem to have gotten the JJ McCarthy selection wrong at the quarterback position and are paying dearly for letting Sam Darnold walk in free agency. So head coach Kevin O'Connell could look for a quick fix in 2026. That could be Rodgers, especially with O'Connell's relationship with the veteran quarterback. The ties to Pittsburgh are strong, but Pro Football Talk's Mike Florio, during an appearance on 93.7 The Fan Wednesday afternoon, wouldn't rule out the possibility of Rodgers heading to Minnesota. No. And I believe that last year Kevin O'Connell was banging hard on the table to have an accomplished veteran to go along with JJ McCarthy. Recognizing that McCarthy wasn't ready to go out there and be the guy, and they needed someone else, whether it was Sam Darnold, whether it was Daniel Jones, Whether it was Aaron Rodgers, Florio said the possibility Rodgers could play for the Vikings 2026, according to the audio via the fan. Now, I saw some reporting that they didn't want Rodgers because they didn't want JJ McCarthy to learn bad habits. But I think now that O'Connell is in charge, you got to look at the options that are available. Obviously, Darnold's not available. Jones is technically available because he's going to be a free agent, but I think he's going to stay with the Colts. Rodgers is available. There aren't many other guys out there, so I could see Rodgers going to Minnesota. It wouldn't shock me if it happened. Me neither. Oh, DJ Johnson's shopping, Sherlock said. 1973. Oh, I hear you. Now I get it. Who was that team? Roger Staubach? Who was the quarterback then of the Cowboys 73? Staubach? Or Danny White and they had Danny White and then Randy White, the defensive lineman, Everson Walls, Ed Too Tall Jones. I could name a few players on that team, I think. They might have came later. That might have been, I don't know. Cam Hayward, he's talking about his contract won't. It's Hayward says that contract won't impact his 2026 decision to come back to the Steelers. It's not that Hayward said when asked it's not that Hayward said when asked if his hang up is money or the contract related. In 2024, Hayward received a contract extension through 2026 season. In 2025, a semi-hold in the training camp and a subtle threat of missing regular season games was resolved by the team adding incentives to his contract. Incentives he ultimately did not achieve. Two situations that drew plenty of criticism from the fan base. Howard enters the 2026 and the final year of his deal with a low base salary but nearly $13 million roster bonus due in March. The Steelers will decide whether or not to pick it up, but given Hayward's stellar play with hardly any signs of decline, it's likely the team will want to exercise it. Then he went on to say, it is more just about where I am at, just decompressing after the season. Hayward said that whole week of Mike T and everything, it kind of threw me for the biggest loop. My mom and my brothers, they were all checking in on me. I'm like, I just need to shut up right now. I don't need to say much, even on the pod. I was just like, I can't talk about this stuff because I'm not ready to. DJ Johnson shopping Sherlock said Danny White was the backup till the 80s. Yeah, I'm not too familiar with the team. I know a couple names off the top of my head. Hayward went on to say, with 3 children and his wife, Hayward will weigh football's mandated commitment versus spending more time at home. Is it good for my family for me to keep playing? He said. They want to see me now. They want to see me not just now, but years from now. And I got to make sure I take care of my body. You do what you got to do, Cam. But this whole dramatic thing that you can't believe Mike Tomlin got fired, it's just getting ridiculous. You can't believe it. When's the last time you won a playoff game, Cam? I mean, the dramatics need to stop from TJ Watt, from Cam Hayward, the entire team. It wasn't working with Tomlin. So you want to spend your whole career not winning playoff games, not going to the Super Bowl? Like the dramatics. Oh, I don't want to talk about it. I'm really shaken up that Coach Tomlin got fired. It's like, dude, stop already, please. Just stop. Then Cam Hayward's initial reaction to Mike Tomlin stepping down. I'm clicking on the article. It's not coming up for some reason. Hold on. Felt like I had failed him. Cam Hayward reveals initial reaction to Mike Tomlin stepping down. I think we were all just in shock by it. You could hear a pin drop. Everyone was in there. I got a chance to talk to him after that day, but I just told him this shocked me. It happened so abrupt. I felt like I had failed him in that moment, Hayward said. We never got to reach the pinnacle of success like we always talked about. I don't know, Cam. I think you did your part, honestly. I think you've been doing your part for a lot of years. And if we're being completely honest, I think Mike Tomlin failed you. So I know that's not the popular thing to say. I know that's not the politically correct thing to say. I know that's not the cool thing to say. But when I hear guys like TJ Watt and Hayward said that they failed Tomlin, no, Tomlin failed you. So let's just stop the nonsense, please. I mean, we're going overboard now. Enough already. Dylan Cook shares locker room reaction to Mike Tomlin stepping down. The sky's falling. Oh God, everybody's just, ooh, yeah. It's just dramatic, man. It's just like, what do you think this is? This is a business, and either you're going to the playoffs or making a deep run, or you're getting into the Super Bowl. And when you don't do that after 19 years, it's time to move on. I mean, these guys make so much money. Just, fly out to see Tomlin every weekend and have lunch if you like him so much. But the dramatics, they're not even, you know what kills me about this? Like, the Steelers players are not even this emotional when they lose games. They're more emotional about a coach that's not producing getting fired than actually losing football games. It just makes you think, like, what do you think this is? A popularity contest? Oh, well, TJ Watt, part of my contract negotiation was I wanted to play for Tomlin. Hey, listen, pal, you're getting paid a lot of money. Your input, just how about you just play? How about that? DJ Johnson shopping. Sherlock said, I about puked when I heard everybody was crying in the meeting room. Ridiculous. I said the same thing. Dude, these guys are they're delusional and they're ridiculous. Like, when you get blown out, the last 5 playoff games, the Steelers lost by double digits, and they haven't won a playoff game in 9 years. And you think that Tomlin should still be the coach? It's like, yeah, probably because they know, like there's not high expectations, honestly. They're pretty comfortable. They're not even this mad when they lose. I would love to see this kind of emotion when we lose games, especially if you notice, the Steelers always lost games to shitty competition. Every time we played a team that was horrible, we played down to the competition. Did we see any of the players flip out and, get mad? No, of course not. It's just like, man, I'm being a dead. It's like I'm over Tomlin. He's gone. I wish you luck, Mike. Get some sun. Go in the pool. Get a massage. Go in the jacuzzi. But it's time to move on. And you see all this hiring of all these coaches, all these different minds. We're about to evolve. The offense is about to evolve finally for the first time in a long time. Even though we don't have a quarterback, things are about to get better for the Steelers. Joey Porter Sr. thinks his son is on the path towards a better career than him, credits Jalen Ramsey's help. Awesome. Like you said, indescribable. Porter said of his emotions while watching his son play Wednesday on the Pat McAfee show. Every dad wants their son to be better than them, and my son is on the path to be better than me. And that's a dad's dream. So to watch him have these opportunities, like I said, man, it's awesome. Shizzle, I'm fired up every weekend. I try not to curse, so. Steelers are, yeah, I agree they're soft. DJ Johnson shopping Sherlock said they're soft. I agree with you. Joey Porter Sr. went on to say him having Ramsey there with him cause his rookie year, it was Pat Peterson. Love Pat. I had Pat as a rookie. At that time, we had Pat. Pat wasn't doing the number one corner stuff. So JJ had to follow and travel. So his confidence grew. The next year, he was DB1 again, but you really never had that vet that's showing you how to be a DB1, Porter said. When you're around somebody like that, Ramsey, it makes you step up your game. It's true. Joey Porter Jr. really came on at the end of the season. I think he had I can't remember. It was some ridiculous stat, but people were not catching footballs on him, towards the end of the year. Nobody could get a pass. Nobody was catching anything on Joey Porter Jr., which is a good sign. Hmm. I would love to see Rod Woodson back helping the Steelers. I know Rod loves California, so I don't think it's possible because he really likes to be in California. But I would love to see him coaching, the Steelers defensive backs. DJ Johnson shopping Sherlock said, "For years we've been losing to crap. We've been losing to crappy teams." Exactly. Exactly. We played down to the competition. You know, if you play the Browns on a short week, you know the Steelers are going to lose. If the Browns could be the worst team in the league, but if the Steelers play them on a short week, you know we're losing by 7 or 10, and we won't be able to get past the 50-yard line. I mean, it's like without saying. I agree. For years we've been losing to bad teams. That was on that absolutely falls on Tomlin's shoulders. That's a sign of bad coaching when you constantly lose to bad teams or you play down to the competition. You know what it is? All that motivational nonsense doesn't work when you play a shitty team because there's nothing to talk about. You know you should be beating them, but the Steelers, they never beat them. Tomlin's record against like bad teams on short weeks is like horrendous. I think it's like 0-10. I forgot what it was, but it's just bad. All right, let me wrap it up, and I'm going to end it with that. And with that being said, thanks for tuning in to Steel City Football, the 4-1-2.